Aibowan and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome our distinguished invitees and our honored guests on behalf of the Managing Director and the management of Sampath Bank to the second iteration of the Wonder Women Initiative. We have once again gathered to witness the inspiration and the insight that the Wonder Women Initiative organized in commemoration of International Women's Day is sure to provide if last year's initiative is anything to go by. The role of women continues to evolve, and today we stand at a juncture where women have risen to receive every challenge the modern world can present them with, relentlessly rising to meet those challenges and to redefine limits. I'm as excited as you to hear the wisdom to be imparted here tonight, a wisdom that is elicited through experience and facing up to daunting challenges. Tonight, we hang on every word from 6 incredible women who have carved out niches for themselves in diverse spheres, propelling themselves to the apex of the field of their choosing. Tonight, they will serve as the inspiration for the rest of our lives. To commence this evening's proceedings, let me now invite Mr. Tarak Ranwala, Senior Deputy General Manager, Deposit Mobilization, Digitalization and Marketing of Sampath Bank, to welcome our honored gathering and to reintroduce and reiterate the concept and the vision behind Wonder Women Initiative. His vision has driven this initiative to its fruition, now for the second consecutive year, and is firmly set to become an annual event, given its success and overwhelming positive public response. His unyielding dedication has inspired the Sampath Bank team behind the Wonder Women Initiative to reach ever higher in the celebration of women, who are true trailblazers. Mr. Ranwala, over to you.
Aibowan and good evening, everyone. I'm indeed honored to be here today and do two main tasks. One is to welcome all of you, and then very briefly give you an outline of the objective of what we do here. But more importantly, I'm honored to be here, standing in front of you, because you have 6 amazing ladies who are going to speak in a little while. And then you have another amazing lady who will probably give the word of thanks. And you have another amazing lady here who is doing the emceeing, and I'm the only guy who's able to come here and probably speak. So in a male-dominated world, so to speak, today we are in a very interesting discussion, and I'm honored to being able to be the only man who can speak here, and unfortunately you guys have to listen to me for probably about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So with that, we have some of our corporate customers and retail banking customers and our priority banking customers here today who have, despite their busy schedules, taken their time to be here. And I very humbly and with honor welcome all of them on behalf of the Managing Director and the management of Sampath Bank. Then we also have some special invitees here who are here again because we believe that their contribution as women in this society has made a tremendous impact. And I would like to very warmly welcome them as well. And we also have our chairman and the board of directors of Sampath Bank, who is gracing this occasion, again, who has given us the leadership to go and do these kind of inspirational things. And I very warmly welcome all of them too. Then I have here with me my managing director and the corporate members, as well as the senior management of the bank who are part of this trailblazing event. So I welcome all of you to this magnanimous event, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy every bit of what we are going to listen to through these ladies. Now, with that welcome out of the way, I would take a little bit of time to tell you why Sampath Bank decided to go in or do something of this magnitude. I think you will most probably agree with me, for far too long, the role of women have been defined by men, with many men and still some, and also some women still thinking that the role of women are confined to either to their house or being a housewife. However, we at Sampath Bank, not only on the International Women's Day, but every single day, we have believed as a team, empowering women and standing side by side with them and helping them along their journey is something that we believe we do every single day. So we thought what we do every single day as bankers to our customers, what we believe that we have in our DNA to stand next to these strong women, what we do every single day, we thought we will bring it to a pinnacle and have an event to showcase and share those inspirational stories of those women so that we can actually take it to the society, make a change. And that is why we decided to have this Wonder Women initiative. We started like what Sayuri said before, we started it last year, and this is the second year that we are doing this because we believe in taking this message of these strong women into the society so that we keep that message going. And that is why what you are witnessing here as our audience today, we have this same event live streamed on all our social media platforms so that we have most of the followers of the bank joining in. I think by about 6:15 when I checked, we had roughly about just under 1,000 people who are logged in. So I'm very happy to say that this message will be taken in, and that is what we believe as a bank who have done greater things that we can do. So that was the motive and the objective that we had, and I'm extremely happy that we could do this event on the second consecutive year and take this message of these wonderful women, what they have done, what they have stood for, and what they have given to the society. We listen to from them. So with that, you have not come to listen to me here. We are all eagerly waiting to listen to these 6 amazing ladies. And once again, I very cordially and warmly welcome all of you, including all our viewers who are logged in into our social media platforms. Let me wind off by saying, let's listen to some of the amazing women who have a story to tell. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anwala, for that wonderful introduction. Now, it is finally time to commence the eagerly awaited second iteration of the Wonder Women Initiative by Sampath Bank. It is my singular honor to invite the eminent women panelists for today's discussion onto the stage. Let me now introduce and welcome on stage our moderator tonight of this fireside discussion, Ms. Shandi Dharmaratna. She is currently the Vice President of HR at Virtusa Corporation, which provides digital business strategy, digital engineering, and IT services for global 200 companies. She commenced her career in New York in 1995, joining MS Holdings in 2001, where she was later responsible for group learning and development. In 2013, she joined Virtusa as the head of HR for Sri Lanka geography. Later, playing multiple roles as head of HR for Sri Lanka Global BU head and Global Digital HR head for Virtusa. She is also the current chairperson of Lankan Angel Network, which seeks to empower entrepreneurs and build viable startup ecosystems in Sri Lanka. She has also served on many boards, including SLASCOM, the American Chamber of Commerce, the American Alumni Association, and the Association of HR Professionals, Sri Lanka. She has an MBA and a bachelor's degree in business administration and economics. She also attended executive education at INSEAD Business School. She has been listed in the Echelons magazine's list of 50 most powerful women of Sri Lanka and Asia's most innovative HR tech leaders, among other accolades. She is also a devoted mother of 2 children. Ms. Shanti Dharmaratna, this invitation is for you on stage. Then now, I would like to invite our first panelist, Professor Neelika Malavige. She's a professor at the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, and also the head of the Global Dengue Program at the Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative, which is a global research and development organization. She is also an academic visitor at the Human Immunology Unit, University of Oxford, and a member of the Executive Committee of the International Society for Infectious Diseases. Her research focus on dengue is to find out the therapeutic targets, notably mediators of vascular leak, the role of antibodies in disease pathogenesis, and correlates of protection in dengue. She also has carried out research on different aspects of COVID-19, including genomic sequencing and immunogenicity. She holds all these positions while being a mother of 2 children. Professor Neelika Malavige, I welcome you on stage. Our second panelist tonight, Ms. Nadija Tambaya. She's a law graduate, barrister at law, and an attorney at law. She heads the legal and company secretarial functions of the John Keels Group, as well as the CSR arm of the John Keels Foundation. She is proud to be a part of the JKH Diversity and Inclusion Initiative, 1JKH. She's a trustee and committee member of several arts organizations working towards increasing global visibility for Sri Lankan artistic talent and heritage. She is vice chair of the Women Directors Forum of the Sri Lanka Institute of Directors and a founding member of the Sri Lanka chapter of the US-based global entity and Women Corporate Directors Foundation. Our next panelist tonight, Ms. Farzana Jamil. She's a graduate of the Faculty of Law of the University of Colombo, from where she obtained LLB honors in 1986. And was called to the bar in October 1988. In December 2022, she retired from the Attorney General's Department of Sri Lanka as a Senior Additional Solicitor General, having served over 32 years in the department. She holds 2 master's degrees in law a LLM from the University of Colombo, and a LLM Merit from University College London in 2004. She also serves as a visiting Justice of Appeal of the Court of the Republic of Fiji Islands. She has taught law at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. In a career that spans nearly 34 years, she has served as a legal consultant to state institutions, including the Bureau of Infrastructure Development, the Southern Development Authority, and Sri Lanka Railways. Further, she served as the Attorney General's nominee on the Law Commission of Sri Lanka, the National Medicines Regulatory Authority, and the National Intellectual Property Office. She has represented Sri Lanka in various capacities as an AFS exchange student in the US, as a lawyer on behalf of the state to various international organizations. She has spoken at the Asian Academy of International Law, China Department of Treaty and Law, US Department of State, Bar Association of Sri Lanka, the General Sir John Kothawala Defense University, and the USAID Program on Women and the Law. In the 2021, she received the Abhiman Lear Award for the category of law by Team Hero under the guidance of the Ministry of Defense of Sri Lanka. In 2016, she was the recipient of the Gold Award for Law, awarded by Women in Management, as well as the Zonta Award, Woman of Achievement for Law in 2011. Ms. Farzana, I welcome you too on the stage. Let me now invite another trailblazing character, who we can introduce as a woman who created a brand by her own. Even mentioning her brand would be enough for you to know her. She is the founder of the luxury brand Sharini and Concept Studio. She has continuously participated at the Colombo Fashion Week and international fashion shows like London Fashion Week, Ethical Fashion Show, Berlin, Global Couture Week India. Sharini has been working with Mars Intimates, heading the design for the Intimates cluster, and holds a master's degree from the London College of Fashion. She's a devoted mother of two and believes in balancing her career and personal lives while indulging whenever possible in her other passion, wildlife and trekking. Ms. Sharini Suryage, welcome you on stage. Our last panelist tonight, Ms. Manoja Jayawardena. While studying CIMA to become a management accountant, she has joined People's Bank, then gathered professional experience at IWS Holdings as an assistant accountant, and the KG Group and Confifi Group as an accountant, where she gained experience in manufacturing, services, hotels, the travel industry, and IT for over 14 years before becoming a CEO. Joining as general manager in 2004, she took over as CEO of Automated Barcode Solutions Private Limited in 2005. She has fought many battles, legal, professional, and personal, from 2006 to 2011, the most crucial period in her career, becoming one of the few women in the extremely male-dominated field of automated solutions, convincing her male colleagues and subordinates that she comes from a background of knowledge and professionalism was the biggest challenge she had to face, with every pitch, presentation, and meeting being a test of her knowledge in the field. Over the last 19 years, however, she has firmly established herself as a leading player in her field, winning the industry's confidence and acceptance, an achievement she is extremely proud of. She considers her two main challenges, one professional and the other personal, to build her career and to bring up her daughter as a single mother. Ms. Manoja Jayawardena, I welcome you too on the stage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, all the panelists have been introduced. It's time for me to hand over the controls to our moderator, Ms. Shandi Dharmaratna. Over to you, Ms. Shandi Dharmaratna.
Thank you so much. So first, I'd like to thank the Sampath Bank leadership and also Aroshi for initiating the Wonder Woman program and for having all these amazing ladies here today in one platform. So it's a great honor and a privilege for me to be able to moderate. And so one thing that Aroshi during our discussions told is that, they hand-picked these amazing women who are here today because they come from such diverse backgrounds or diverse professions. We have from medical science and academia, we have corporate and SME sector, legal profession, and entrepreneurs as well. So coming from such diverse professions, we are confident the stories or how you got to achieve the highest level in your respective careers, the stories are also very diverse. So today we thought we want to keep it really light, but at the same time we want to make sure that it is impactful. And we like the audience to kind of participate as much as possible. So if you can write down your questions and keep it really interactive, it'll be more fun for all of us. So 2 objectives that we have for today. One is to share the diverse stories of these amazing ladies and hopefully inspire every lady here and everyone who is live streaming to see that there is no one way to get to your highest level in your career. Second is during the conversations, I'm sure you will be exposed to and you will be able to learn maybe certain habits or certain transferable skills or life skills from these ladies that will help you as future leaders and amazing women here to achieve your highest potential in your careers as well. So those are the 2 main objectives that we have. With that, I will open the panel discussion. First question goes to Professor Neelika. You have been involved in medical research for decades. And to many, you have become a voice of reason, especially during the COVID pandemic. Tell us a little bit about what your greatest achievements are and what drove you towards your success.
Thank you, and thank you for Sampath Bank for inviting me here. So I'll talk about 3 achievements during the last few years. First of all, since childhood, I wanted to discover things. It really excited me. I was interested about viruses, immune system, and doing a lot of research. And over the years, of course, I had acquired a lot of skills, knowledge about these things, and in Sri Lanka established a lot of infrastructure, skills, and trained people. So when COVID came, I was able to use these skills, knowledge, and what we had set up here for the COVID response here. And that, I think, is the biggest achievement. That is achievement number 1. Secondly, of course, we were doing everything that other countries with much better resources were doing. We were doing sequencing, PCRs, vaccine studies, and our vaccine data, for instance, is sometimes the only data even now for the whole world for some vaccines. So we did all this in tiring conditions, and the only way that we were able to do this is because of teamwork. Everybody worked as one single person, like a well-oiled machinery. So a lot of people got to understand the importance of teamwork, and no individual can come forward by yourself, and it's teams that achieve things. So that is the second achievement, to show that it's all about working together. The third one is, all of us know that Sri Lanka is going through a difficult time. And of course, somebody working in science, it's extremely difficult doing scientific research in Sri Lanka right now. And every day I have my team members coming to me and saying, can't do this, we don't have that, all the a list of things that cannot be done.
Yeah.
You see, but despite that, we always find a way. I mean, if you can't do this, let's do it like this. So despite everything, we have been able to find different ways of doing the same thing, sometimes with better results. So the fact that I was able to give hope to people that you can even continue, you can always find a way despite what is happening, I think that's the third achievement. So those are the three achievements. Thank you.
Great. Professor, just to ask a very brief answer to, if you look at your career, if you can briefly just mention how you, in your career, came up and you started off and how you came.
Okay, so as I said, I was very curious and excited. All these things excited me. And so, of course, there was no opportunity like that in Sri Lanka, so I became a doctor. You see, I went to medical school and became a doctor, but then I got the opportunity because I performed very well in medical school. I got a scholarship to go to Oxford, and that's really finding myself and discovering myself, understanding that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, doing scientific research. There are a lot of people who were against, my colleagues saying that, why do you want to be a scientist? You're a doctor, you have to do this. But I didn't, really, I never cared what other people said at all. I had things that I wanted to do in life, so it was not about a career, but doing things what I wanted to do in life. And that makes me very happy.
Great. Thank you so much, Professor. Second question is to Farzana. Farzana, you retired as Senior Additional Solicitor General after more than 32 years in the public service. You rose to the top in your career as a lawyer when you were appointed as President's Counsel in 2006. Tell us about what it took for you to stay the course in a challenging career.
That's a loaded question, 3 questions in one.
Okay.
So, how I stayed the course, I think that's what I was saying. First, to correct it, I became President's Counsel in 2016, not 2006.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's a
My
big
eyesight
difference
is
between
really
the
bad,
two.
Farzana.
There's a big difference between the two. That's
2016.
okay. Yeah. As to how I
I
stayed the
pretend
course.
I don't need glasses. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It will be very misleading if I were to say that. So, how I stayed the course in a career that spanned that long, I think because I loved what I did. It never felt like work to me. And I completely enjoyed the parry and thrust of court. And I was constantly thrown into the deep end from day one. Litigation, the AG's department is such that the majority of the work you do is litigation in court. And there is a bit of non-court work. But the majority is court work, which is very dynamic, evolving, like what happens at the beginning of the case is not what happens at the end of the case. In a course of 30 minutes, the whole case can evolve differently. So as to staying the course, I think what kept me there was the fact that I was passionate about it, and it never felt like work to me. Every case was a story that needed an answer. And I was, like I said, constantly thrown into the deep end, and I'm from day one, and up against the best of counsel in Sri Lanka from day one. And I have learned so much from those people. Again, many on the other side in the private bar, because we as officers of the state are opposed to people in the private bar, so you're up against the best. And so then you're constantly having to play catch up. Because you can be 25 years old or 30 years old and you're with 3 years at the bar, and you're opposed to people who have 25 years at the bar. So you are playing catch up from the moment you get in there. And so to me, the fact that I loved what I did, every case needed an answer, and so that's what kept me going. It didn't seem like work.
Great. I think
Thank
you
you.
were so decisive, and I think from Professor also what we heard is that they were so decisive about what you wanted to do, and you knew you knew where your passion was?
Honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
I thought you
No,
knew you wanted
no.
to be a lawyer.
I became a lawyer quite by chance.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm a third generation lawyer, and when I became a lawyer, it was nothing big about it. It was not what I really wanted to do, but I did my A-levels and got into university, and I actually, when I was filling up my form for university, I didn't even write law as my first choice. I had put architecture and English and then law. And my teacher in school, my economics teacher, said, "What rubbish is this?" And she got me to change it, and she said, "You must do this." And so I just went along with it, and the rest is history. I went to the faculty, and then that's
But
it.
is it correct to assume?
But I couldn't have been happier in anything else.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. And I think the other learning is that how you always wanted to make yourself uncomfortable, and that gave you growth
Well,
and
for me,
progression.
the thing was that I think the lesson I learned was that I never underestimated my opponent,
Great.
because I was constantly up against
Yeah,
the best.
yeah.
And so I really, like I said, had to play catch up. I had to keep up.
Great. Thanks. Next question is to Najida. You have risen to the corporate ladder, up the corporate ladder in one of Sri Lanka's blue chip conglomerates to hold the position that you do today. This could not have been easy. Tell us about the journey you've had and what your particular wins are.
I'm going to use my glasses. So when the question first came to me, they asked about a corporate ladder. And I've never thought of my career at John Keells as climbing a ladder. And I think perhaps that's a mistake, because for most of my life at John Keells, it was a journey of learning. I loved that learning. I really got up, I was excited to come to work. I learned about building hotels, building terminals in the port, about setting up financial services. Every day was different, and every day I learned. But to stay in a career for 27 years, there has to be some drivers, I think. And those drivers changed through my career. In the first part of it, after having studied for so long, I wanted to use what I'd learned. And when I entered the workplace, I realized how little I knew. And that drove me, that excitement to learn and every day. In the middle of my career, I was still learning and I was still excited, but I was then the mother of 2 daughters. And I really wanted them to learn to work. I really wanted them to understand what it meant to be independent, to not fall into a mold of housework or, being a wife. So that was my second kind of driver in my career. And the third, I don't think I'm alone, I think anyone at John Keells will say this, is that at JKH you have a platform to make a difference at a national level. I can contribute to the success of this economy in the work I do in my role at JKH, and that's huge for me. I can motivate young women because John Keells gives me this platform to speak and to talk about where women can succeed. And even in the arts and taking it to that global stage, there is this platform. Those 3 drivers, I think, are there throughout. But I want to take a moment to say that I think, on reflection, I should have concentrated a little bit more on the ladder. Because, like most women, we're here because we love doing what we do. So we don't seek positions. I remember one chairman, when he was promoting me, said, "Do you really want this promotion?" And I thought, are you not hearing me? You're not hearing me? He said, "Do you really want this promotion?" And I thought, yes, I want this promotion. I would have left if you didn't give it to me. Why? You know, but I hadn't asked. And I think the 5 other people in my position who were men had asked. Right? So women don't ask. They don't put themselves out there. And I realized, you know, I should have maybe started thinking about where do I go, have a focus on something. So to the young women, I would say, think about the next step in your career rather than enjoying. I mean, you should always enjoy what you do. You'll never be successful without enjoying what you do. But also be a little bit more strategic and realize you're competing against men who will ask, even if we won't.
Do you think, coming from, I think it's a very important point, do you think it's, why do you think women don't ask? Because I've read some books about women are perfectionists, and they always think that they need to do more in order to deserve it. Or is it because women are not confident enough to ask for it? Or do you have any theory around it, or any experience around why women don't ask? Why you didn't ask?
It's a good question. I spent the weekend with a university friend of mine who heads Shell in UK, Norway, and India. It's a woman. And she's the only woman in that position in Shell globally. And she was talking about the not good enough syndrome and how women always think themselves not good enough and are often told they're not good enough. And men rarely have that lens or that focus on them. So there is, I think, within ourselves, we have to realize as women that yes, we are good enough. We are good enough. And I think we have to take the risk. A lot of men will put up their hands for things that they have no idea how to do. Rarely will a woman do that. So yes, I think, and to the men, corporate leaders in this room, you have to realize when you're dealing with the women in your teams that they're not going to put their hand up. You have to pull them. It's not in them intrinsically to put their hand up, but that doesn't mean they're not capable. That's why you have to grab them and pull them in.
Thanks for that. Charini, next question is to you. And I think I've been asked to let every lady to speak up a little bit, because I think it's a bit faint at the back. Charini, you started your career in the corporate world, having spent over 10 years, both locally and internationally. You then transitioned out in order to become an entrepreneur. And obviously now everyone knows about your amazing brand. We all love your clothes, Charini. Congratulations on that. Tell us a little bit about this creative endeavor and how you got started and how you have progressed to where you are today.
So when I first, I didn't know that I'll be a designer, or I didn't even understand there was such a career that existed. So, am I loud enough? Yes. So it was one of those decisions, right? I studied bioscience. I come from a bit of a traditional background. They wanted me to be a doctor, la-di-da. So here I am after, all that, looking back and thinking I made the right choice by default, I would say, and decided that I'm going to apply for the architecture faculty and ended up doing fashion, specializing in that. So, and then after that, I was lucky enough to be in one of the, most wonderful workplaces I would think to work at Mars Holdings, where it was my first job. And then subsequently I went to the UK and the US, worked in those places as well. And there was still something that I was missing. I had a fantastic career being with a good organization, and I could still do my creative work, but there was something still missing. So I had to make that call at one point, and that was when I decided that I need to leave the job that I was doing in order to become, look for that missing bit in my career world. And then I decided to do my own brand. It was a hard choice to make, because I was very comfortable with my job at that moment, and it was a tough call. So that, it's one of those decisions that can either go right or wrong, but I just needed to see for myself whether one was actually to see whether I was good enough. That was a bit of a challenge as well. I think being women, we always challenge ourselves in our own way to try and prove to all the people in our lives also that we are good enough. And actually I didn't study in Colombo, I studied in Bandarula. So I come from a very different background where, it's important to try and prove to your relatives or family that you can actually achieve something where they would not relate to, I would say. So I think looking back at the decisions I made, I'm happy that I did so. But I think there's a lot more to prove as well. Yeah.
I think you're doing great. How do you think your conservative family background that you come from, how do you think they look at you now?
So actually, having said that, my father is a hotelier, so it was not conservative per se, I would say, but that whole setup was very conservative. They would not understand how it would work when you're already, and we are talking about 20 years ago. So then it was a very new career. So I would say everybody in my life backed me up in a very positive way. So when I decided not to go and sit for my exams again and try and become a doctor, and everybody was very helpful. And I think, my father was a person who understood that I needed to make that decision in order to be happy with what I wanted to be. So what I want to tell, and I always say when I speak at these forums or whatever, where you come from actually should not be a boundary. Because you have to work it for your advantage, I would say, because you come from a place where you can prove and show a bigger audience that there's a lot of potential. Say now I did my bachelor's at the Morato University, and so I still lecture just because I think I need to give back. Because if I didn't have that backing from the university, I would have not been where I am. So subsequently, I studied at London College of Fashion, went to Parsons in New York. I did all those things, but if I didn't get the first bit right, it would have been really tough for me to see that whole path through. So I always tell people, if you say that you come from a village, or I didn't go to this school in Colombo, that school in Colombo, I don't think that's an excuse. I always tell that I never use that as an excuse. I actually worked it the other way around, where I thought, okay, I'm not from Colombo, and I'm in this big organization. Mars Holdings is a big company, right? And I thought, it's okay that I'm not from Colombo, but you can be there and do your job properly, and prove that you don't have to be a part of this social circle or that social circle. You just have to be good at what you're doing, right?
Great, thank you so much, Sharini, for that. Next question. So we're going into this, Manoja. Next question. You've taken an entrepreneurial role, turn as well, and many women and men are actually kind of apprehensive to become entrepreneurs. What inspired you on this journey, and what kept you going? And if you can tell us a little bit about the challenges you faced, necessarily mainly at the beginning of your journey, and even now what challenges you foresee, we would like to hear that.
Thank you, Sampath Bank, for inviting me and then getting me to sit in this chair. Thank you so much. And if I just start, and then I would agree with Charini, like in certain things, because I also came from Gaul, and I came to Colombo, to Visakha Vidyalaya for my grade 6. And when I came, actually, I wasn't good in English. And I had difficulties. But then I had to pick up, because to be in par with the other girls, which I did. And then I did bioscience. And then I was selected to Colombo University I just got 6 marks less for medicine, and then I got selected for bioscience, which I gave up during that time because the universities were closed. And then I opted to do CIMA. And I became an accountant. I started with IWS and then went on like that. So the last workplace I worked for was an IT company, where I understood I have some hidden skill for IT and electronics. Then I was like really interested in learning them by my own. I mean, I just went to hardware department or the software department, and I started learning it on my own. So I thought this is what I really can do, not accounting, because since I came from a science background and then all that, then I wasn't very interested in doing accounting. So the last workplace really inspired me to learn IT and electronics, which I did. And finally, I had to leave that place for certain issues. And then I thought, and also all my friends are saying, why you not do something on your own? Because, that would be the best thing that you can do. Then there were 6 of my friends who were all males, and we started up the company. So the technical knowledge was mine. So all of them were engineers, but then it was my knowledge that they started up the company, and then actually they trusted me and believed in me to start it. And then I joined as a general manager, and then I became a director CEO in 2005. It is actually my company. If I tell you a little bit about it, we are in the field of automatic identification, and I do automation, system integration, where not many women are involved in Sri Lanka. So I think maybe I'm the only one who's spearheading a company in automation and systems integration, which I learned on my own. Every day I read, I like technology, I like the new things, and I always read, and then I get myself updated. So I keep exploring things. Whenever I go abroad, I look into technologies, and then I see what is new in those places. And I come here, I get down equipment, I test them. I myself go and sit with the technicians, and then I try to learn how they work. So that has been the thing that I've been doing. And if I take my inspiration was always my passion to learn. I want to learn new things. Like always I twist my parts, and then I go and do a new thing and then try to see if that works. So I was always curious in finding out what's going on. So that is one thing. And if you ask me what made me keep going, that was one thing was the passion for technology. The second thing was my daughter, where I could not give up at any point of time. I always had to move on. And then I knew she was keep watching me. And then I had to show her that, I can't give up. And then this is what I got to do. So that is why I'm here today.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that great story. And also that's really good for young, at any age, I think, to understand how, you did bioscience. And then you took every opportunity that you got, and you kind of put everything, and you submerged yourself to learn wherever you were. And your learning never stopped. And as a result, you found your passion way later.
Yeah.
And that's what we go and talk to school kids. Keep your eyes open and keep moving. And whatever you do, put 100% into it. And you never know what your passion is, then you can find it at a later stage. So that's an amazing story. Thank you so much. So we are okay on time. Okay. So we have a few additional questions. First question, shall we put it to Professor Neelika? women hold many different roles, including that of being a mother, wife, daughter, in addition to being a professional. There are multiple societal expectations that there are of women. How do you ensure that you take care of all these responsibilities whilst achieving your career aspirations?
So my children and my husband, I wouldn't call them responsibilities. Paying tax and paying your bills would be responsibilities, you see. But, so basically, the kids, your family. You don't have to get married or have kids, right? You should only do those if you really want to. And I really wanted to, after I met my husband, marry him and also have kids. And of course, it's difficult, especially when the kids are young. It's really, really difficult. But nothing worthy in life is easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything that matters in life, work is very, very difficult. See, although I like my work, it's really difficult. So similarly, family, looking after kids, now they're of course big, so I don't have a difficult time now. But in my 30s, I really, really struggled a lot. It was such a lot of hard work. But then you just hang in there, because after all, they make you happy. Although it's hard work, it's all about being happy about it, and so about the mother being there for the kids. I think I saw it as a privilege, because I see every step of them growing up, isn't it? And most men don't have that privilege. So I think women are privileged to actually be there for your kids and see every moment in their life, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Professor. I like the correction. It's not a responsibility. Nadija, next question is to you. It is important to have mentors and champions. Your views on that, how important it is. And also the second question to that, the leading question is, have you had male champions who have supported you throughout your journey?
Can you hear me? I'll take the second question first.
Okay.
So male champions, I think in diversity parlance, are those who in a workplace would open doors, increase exposure, support and give women the confidence that they can succeed. And in every woman's journey, there are certain hurdles. When you have children, those early years in your 30s, when they fall sick, there are certain harder times, and they're those that take you through it. And I've been blessed, I think, to have male champions in different aspects of my life, starting with my father, from a conservative Tamil background, who told every boy that I brought home from the age of 16, I think, that he invested in my education and not my dowry, setting the stage right there that he expected me to work. And my husband, who's this silent tower of strength, who very, I think, overtly and implicitly supports everything I do and encourages me. He will go out and hire a cook and not expect me to cook. And of course, the current and present chairmen of the past and present chairman of JKH, who all been men so far, who've just been able to reach out and grab me even though I didn't put my hand up, and thrown me into the deep end. So those male champions I have to thank. But also just in terms of I think my two daughters and my mother, who have never ever made me feel that I was being less of a mother or less of a wife, or my husband, or less of a woman because of the hours I work, and I work long hours, or the kind of things I do. So that courage, that support has been incredible, and it's allowed me my peace of mind. So even though you have the guilt through certain pieces, having that support and constant encouragement around you is, I don't think it's a huge source of strength.
So there's support from your personal and professional.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Next question is to Manoja. how can we as women support and give a hand to our younger women who are trying to reach their own career heights?
Yeah, I think that is a very important thing that we should do as women, because like if you have achieved something, I think the best thing is that you share it, your success, more than the failures. Like, you know, you try to share your success and then encourage them. And also, like, you know, to do mentoring. Like a lot of girls, mostly the girls, they need mentoring, because a lot of people, they go and select things that they cannot do. And then finally they do things where there is no demand in the market. And then finally they don't find jobs. And then I have seen a lot of people like that. And actually I do mentoring for some of the university students, like, who calls me after 6, and then I keep talking to them for hours and hours, which I really enjoy. But I think they really need that, because it has to start from school, university level, and also like at home, and even at our workplaces. Like when I get someone, when I get a girl especially, like I try to develop her personality more than anything else, just trying to get her to work and then teach her some work, you know, some accounting or something like that. But more than that, I think you have to guide them, you have to give them a hand and tell them that they are talented, tell them they can do things, and then tell them that they are pretty. Some of the girls, they don't even know they are pretty, like, you know, they don't understand. Like they are presentable, they can do things. You tell them to go and do a presentation, they will be very reluctant. They will not come forward. And then they will always say, no, I have not done a presentation, I don't know how to do, some start crying and all that. So I think you have to be a strength to them whenever possible and wherever possible, which I do on daily basis. So I think it is something that any woman should do. I would say any woman should do that.
It's great. Even we have seen, I think, even in the startup space, where a lot of some women, they have great ideas and they have great products or great services, but what happens is they are in their own, society or background where they can't dream big because they haven't seen what they could do. So sometimes there's this lady who makes beautiful jewelry, and it's like her most expensive one is about 15,000 rupees. But if you look at that, you would see a Hollywood actress wearing a similar piece of jewelry, and that would be like at least 500,000 rupees. So the potential they have outside in different markets, they are not even exposed to it. And I think even from that sense, mentoring and holding their hand to give that exposure, I think that's one way to definitely bring our economy up by helping women entrepreneurs and even men entrepreneurs to take their startups forward. Next, one important point that you made, well, I would like to pose this to the panel, is on sharing your experiences and your wins, and at the same time, the concept of fail forward and sharing your failures. And anyone wants to take a stab at it, where, to explain about an opportunity that you had where you failed, and the learnings that you got from that, if you want to share.
I think
We can come back to that question.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, can you hear me? I think one aspect of my life, if I look back, I would change, is perhaps this role that I have played in trying, as a woman, trying to bring other women into the workplace. It was very late in my career that I was made aware of the fact that I had to sit, 1, as an inspiration, 2, as a mentor, 3, as a sponsor, and really take a platform and take a stage. Because for a lot of my life, I sat back and I was reticent about wanting to, go out there and say, as a woman. And after 20 years at JKH, the failure, in a way, was the fact that none of the numbers had changed. And I recognize that in a country which spends more than half of its education budget on women, by not bringing those women into the JKH leadership, we were failing as an organization in ensuring that the best of our talent was serving us. So we need to get out there. So I think learning for me was that deep sense of guilt that I spent 20 years doing nothing. And I really want to make a difference. And so.
Thank you, Narisha. It's never too late. And it's great that you're thinking forward. And I know there are some great HR policies that you all put together at John Keel's to support women coming back and women on maternity leave and paternity leave as well. So that's a way forward. Farzana, what can be done to encourage more women to rise to the top in the legal profession? We had this question and Farzana had so many answers. I don't know which one you're going to give today.
But you're giving me questions that have to give you several answers.
There are women in the legal.
So that's, you're saying in the legal profession. So this legal profession, I gather the implicit part of that question is that you're thinking of the legal profession from a litigation point of view.
Male perspective.
Is that what you're saying? So you can be a courtroom lawyer or you can be a boardroom lawyer.
Yes.
Depends on what drives your passion.
Yeah.
If you're talking about what I know, courtroom lawyer, that's all I know. To get women to get to the top, in the sense to rise to the top, if you're in the official bar, like where I was, there are numbers, several numbers of women. If you're in the private bar, it's a little less. The numbers are minimal. And I think whichever place you're in, the reason that women are unable to, as you say, rise to the top. Again, it depends on what you mean by rise to the top. Whether you're measuring success by the volume of litigation that you win, or whether you're measuring success from how successfully you can argue and present a position, irrespective of what the result is. Because as a counsel, as a lawyer presenting a case, you can only present a position for your client. You may not believe in it, but you can only present a legal position for a client, and the other side will present their position. And so then the judge will decide. So you have no control over that. But when you say, what can you do to get women to the top, to work, I will talk about the fact that if you want to be a successful litigator, from what I know, I think people who are successful litigators are people who are able to give endless amounts of time to their preparation. The law is a jealous mistress, and you can be sure that if a case goes on for 3 days, even with a week apart or 2 days apart, the way in which, how dynamic litigation is and what positions people can present and how a case can evolve really puts you in a position where you have to be at it. So to rise to the top, I don't know what you mean by rise to the top, but if you're counting numbers of cases that you're winning, it's one thing. But on the other hand, I think it would not be wrong to, I don't know whether it will be politically incorrect to say that, but I don't know how many people really will look at, how many clients, people with problems will look at women litigators and say, look, I want so-and-so to be my counsel. Because there's this stereotypical view, various stereotypical views, and we don't want to go to all of those now, right? Or she doesn't know enough, or she's not aggressive enough, or, equating aggression with ability, or various things. Because it's such a dynamic evolutionary process. So to get women to the top, you have to be successful as a litigator. I think it's being able to spend enough time and have enough drive, and to never, so you have to have people who will assist you with that. So you have to have women-friendly workplaces, women-friendly homes, purely because we as women have multiple roles to play most of the time. And we want to play those roles. So I think everybody has to chip in there. It's not, there's no one size fits all and there's no one answer. So you have to have a home that lets you do that, people that encourage that, and a woman-friendly workplace that will allow you that. But above all of that, I think the woman herself has to be driven enough to want to be able to succeed in every case she does. So that amount of passion, that amount of drive, I think that is what you need, and that takes time. So it's all about how you will balance your time.
Great, thank you so much, Farzana. And also you mentioned that not just in litigation, but there are lawyers who are doing exceptionally well in their careers in other fields.
Yeah, like a boardroom lawyer, there are people who do exceptional work. But that doesn't come to the forefront. People, when you think of a lawyer, you're constantly thinking of this aggressive-looking female standing up there and screaming, or, you know. But that's not the case, and you don't need any aggression to win.
Thank you. So we have the next question to, we have 15 minutes then. Okay. So I'm just going to ask one question from each of the panelists. That is, if you are to share 2-3 things in a bullet point for the younger generation or the future leaders or other women who are aspiring to be you in their respective careers, what are the 2-3 things that you think is really important for them to kind of build from now on? Let's start. Anyone can go first.
Okay, all right, then I'll start. I would say even when things are very difficult, which is most of the time it will be, remember that these are temporary, and when you think you have actually no energy to go anymore and you really want to, like this is becoming impossible, you always can. You have that extra energy in you that you can. So even in difficult times, keep going, things will get better, because you know everybody has these ups and downs, and especially in the younger, you know, like in your 30s are the really difficult times, I would say, you know, because your kids are young, financially unstable, junior position in work, so you know you don't have much bargaining power at work, financially, you know, so all these things, you know, 30s are the difficult part. If you somehow hang in there, you know, you just need to hang in there.
Great. Have a lot of grit and determination.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor.
Probably 2 things. One is be organized for the women. You can't be a full-time mother, you can't be a full-time wife and a full-time employee at the same time. It's just not possible. So you have to organize yourself, you have to let go and delegate certain parts. You have to have conversations with your partners about what part they'll share. Okay, we shouldn't feel guilt about it, because ultimately, it's certainly for me, I think my whole family was happier because I was happier. So be organized. Don't have the guilt. Well, I think we all have the guilt, but learn to deal with the guilt. Secondly, is lean in. Okay, Sheryl Sandberg talked about it. And when I heard the stories around this group of very, very exceptional women, if I may say, it was about passion. It was about people who made an effort to learn and constantly learn. We can't sit on our laurels. We must be curious. We have to add value wherever we go. And for that, you have to keep learning. So that's probably two.
Great. Thank you so much, Nadija.
I would say learn to delegate what doesn't matter and do absolutely well what does matter to you. And don't get involved in petty stuff. Think about it. Is it going to matter to me 10 years from now? I think take a step back and look. And the other thing I think would be compete with yourself. Try to be better than you were last week, or just try to improve yourself slowly, surely. And I think it's important to be an authentic version of yourself rather than anybody else, because people come and look at you and want to be you. I can never be you and you can never be me. So I think that's important. Delegate and then try to be better than you were yesterday.
And be authentic.
Authentic. I think it's important to be authentic and sincere about that authenticity, because that comes across. Like if you're trying to make an impression, the only impression you will make is of that of trying to make an impression. But if you are genuine about what you're doing and saying, it comes across. There's no need to be or put on or do anything that doesn't really belong to you, it doesn't come from you.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Charani?
I would agree with, I think all these ladies have already told what, I share the same thoughts. Be genuine about who you are and who you wanted to be and you want to be in the future. So when everything is going wrong, sometimes it happens, especially when you're a mom, when you're a wife. There are all these things that we have to hang on to and make it work, because a woman has this strength to keep on going when everything is falling apart. Sometimes there are situations where you can be the pillar of strength that everybody in your family is hanging on to. So you just can't let anybody down, and you just have to keep on going and just be passionate about what you're doing, because if that passion dies, I don't think there's anything that you can salvage, because that's what keeps you going. So be true to what you want to do and just be passionate so that you can see it through.
Great. Thank you so much, Sharni. Manaja?
From my experience, what I can say is never give up, because what made you unhappy yesterday will not make you unhappy in another year's time or whatever. You just look back and think it doesn't matter anymore, and then you can build up your own world, and you can be happy at any point of time, and happiness starts with you. That is what I believe, so never give up. That is what I say.
Great. Thank you so much. So we have time for a couple of more questions before we go into the Q&A session. Next question is to Manoja. So you have been a Sampath Bank customer for a while now. How has the bank supported you during your difficult times? That what more can the banking sector in general do to support entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs?
That was the most awaited question for me, because at one point of time, Sampath Bank really helped me. That's why I'm sitting here. So I continued my business because Sampath Bank really lent me a hand. That was during 2009 and 11. I was doing some government projects for which I didn't get my payments for maybe 2 to 3 years. And I was really, I was banking with another bank, and then I really had difficulties in getting my facilities restructured, and so many issues were there. But then I went and spoke to Sampath Bank, and they helped me at that point of time, and I'm ever grateful to Sampath Bank for that. And I would say the service that I got was really personalized, and they really looked at me from my point of view. And I thought, like most of the time what I see is like when I go to a bank and I try to explain what I'm doing, nobody understands what I say. And it was very difficult to convince someone that I can do this job, like as a technical person, like, since I'm a non-technical person. It had been always very difficult to say, convince. So the bank that the project that I'm going to do is viable, and then this is what I'm doing, and this project and that project, this technology and all that. No one understands what I'm talking most of the time. And then Sampath Bank, I think they really understood me. And apart from that, I should say that I'm a solution provider to Sampath Bank and also to Sampath. And so like apart from them helping me to do banking and then stuff, like they bought my solutions, they trusted me, and then I will, I'm ever grateful to Sampath Bank. And I would say, like, I just have an idea. I was thinking all these days, like now there is a backdrop in the economy, and a lot of people have lost their jobs, especially women, like who have lost their jobs. I have been, as I said, I've been mentoring some people, and then there are some people whom I never knew started contacting me after I wrote some Facebook post. And then there are so many girls, like who are doing non-IT related things, but who are willing to learn IT. And I would suggest, this is my thought, and I thought I will share it in this forum, because I think if we have some way of getting them on board, like to do IT and then to do something on their own, like even to help them if they have startups. There are so many girls who are like really good at IT. But the thing is, like when we select people to do IT jobs, mostly we look at males, boys, and then we think they can work harder, they can work long hours and all that. I think that is the case, like even with me, like I have a male team of technicians. So the problem is like no girl is there to do like hardware related stuff, no one is interested. So I have been coaching them, like over the weekends I've been doing some sessions free of charge to teach them networking and IT security and all that. What I learned, I'm trying to teach free of charge. So I think if the bank can, come forward in some way to help them, and then if we can start some, project to get people like them attracted, get them to learn at least 3 to 6 months courses or something like that, to work about 3-4 hours a day, something like that. So I think that was my idea, and I thought I will share it here. And also if the bank can help people in financial literacy, like a lot of people, they try to do things but don't know the impact of doing the investment, getting the money back, and how the figures work. Most of the people, they don't know. That is one. And then the other thing what I was thinking, the Sampath Bank, as they have evolved in a lot of technology, and then they are like forefronting a lot of things in apps and all that. So I think there has to be, if there is a way where you can help the women who are having startups or like technically to do their things easier. So I think those things would help them. So
I think that's a great initiative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
right.
sharing those thoughts, because I think that collaboration between the corporate sector.
Yeah, that's right. So if we can like come forward as a venture and then get people to learn, we set up a place where people can learn, help them. Like, I mean, I think the government has to help those initiatives, but at least some initiative somewhere to get people to learn at least 3 to 6 months courses and then work about 3-4 hours a day.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think it also has a ripple effect where people understand at a very young age what are those skills other than going to school and then getting out and doing a degree, and then you come into the corporate sector, and when you look at the key skills that's required by LinkedIn, or if you Google it up, like you said, the key new skills that they're looking for in the global corporate sector are things like AI and machine learning and product management, more technical data analytics, skills like that.
Yeah.
So for anybody in any field, even in HR, it's really important to understand those concepts, technologies.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Charini, I'm okay. Charini, next question is to you. And after that, we will go into the Q&A. The question is, on a very lighter side of things, many of us need to recharge our batteries given the hectic lives that we lead. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how you rejuvenate yourself, especially given the field that you're in?
Yeah, because we all lead, very complicated lives, I think, and especially being in Colombia, you get caught up with all these things that you don't want to do, but you do, and you also complain that you do, but you keep on doing what you're doing. So, and I have 2 small children, 4 years and 8. So I need to find that time to spend with them, have time to spend with my husband. So I think those are also important as a part of, how you balance life. So I do a lot of camping and trekking. So for all of us as a family. So that's our way that we bond together, where we are cut away from the rest of Colombo, and have a little space where we actually share, what we feel about our life, what we need to do, what we don't need to do, and that time that you spend, especially when you go camping, you need to rely on each other, right? There's no other way to do camping, right? So yeah, we found that it's an amazing way that we can develop our skills in order to help us as a family to kind of do a bit of bonding, and it's more interesting for us rather than probably going to a hotel and being near a pool or whatever. It's nice because, I mean, personally for us, I think it's a nice way that we can actually kind of have that space cut away where we have to, let's say, a good word to say is that it's a skill that you develop so that you actually are refreshed and come back to your day-to-day world. The kids go back to school and then they're ready to face their day-to-day activities, and we are back at our workspaces, and also, you know, with a fresh set of eyes, you can just look at that. Otherwise it becomes very mundane. You do the same job, it's a different date, but then, you know, it's a nice way that we found that we can do a little bit of a challenging activity together as a family, which kind of helps us, you know, to grow together.
Great, thank you so much, Shani. I guess it also keeps the bond.
Yes.
And it also makes you, you know, kind of know that you're doing things to really bond the family.
Yeah, because otherwise we go on trips together with all these families, and again we all sit together and we talk. You know, as it's like there's no point going on a trip sometimes, because you don't have time for each other as a family, because you are again busy socializing, right?
Yeah.
So this is our way that we found, where we don't have to socialize, but we can do a little thing where we have time for ourselves.
Great, thank you, Charani, for sharing that. Anu, we are going into the Q&A. So we will go into the audience. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but we will have 15 minutes. It would be great if you can, you know, any question really, and you can pose it to any panel member that you want to, or you could just kind of pose it to anyone who wants to take it. Sure.
I think Nadija adverted to this, but what is nobody really adverted to the. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Yeah. I think Nadija adverted to this, the role that her husband played in her, but none of the others really discussed the role of the husband in the journey to be a Wonder Woman, either positive or the negative. You know, if a supportive husband is helpful, or an unsupportive husband a really negative factor in whatever you are playing. You know, whenever we speak of the role of our wives that played in our success. Not one other than Nadija adverted to that. So can we find out what the role of the husband is?
Sure. I do think that Professor Malavige said that the husband is not a responsibility.
But I'm happy to elaborate. Yes, I'm happy to elaborate. I think who you marry is very important for your happiness. I mean, it's very, very important to find the right person to marry. And your husband or your spouse plays a huge role in your happiness. And when I say to find the right person, I don't mean to find a man who will, you know, clean and cook and, you know, help in the household activities, but who would actually, you know, support you. Because, you know, there are times when you feel that down, and that's when you really need support. So not only my husband, now my kids are big, they really, when I think I can't do something, or it's, because most of the time I'm given tasks that I have no idea how to do. You see? So a lot of time it's like that, and I'm doing this new, playing this new role in this global position. So I'm really pushed to the deep end, almost on a daily basis with different cultures, different countries and all that. So it's really important, the support that I'm getting from my family, and especially my husband. Yes.
Great. Professor, any other Wonder Women want to?
Yeah, I can see Harsha giving me this odd look. So actually I didn't talk about it because the question directed at me did not give me an opening to say that. So I thought I answered the question, focusing on the question. But there's no there's no question to dispute. If you are married and you are in a career, there's no doubt that your husband is, and if you feel you're successful in your career, there's no doubt that the husband is probably 80% of that success. Speaking for myself, every time I wanted to give up, I would want to, I mean, I've written a letter of resignation, given it away, all of that. But For me, I was driven by the fact that I kept getting told, no, you can do it, just carry on. Because as mothers, you tend to, this guilty mother syndrome overtakes you. The guilty mother syndrome overtakes you and tries to stay with you forever. But then I remember when I first wanted to leave my job, I was told by my husband, are you crazy? Do you really remember who bathed you when you were 4 years old? I don't think that is necessary. So you can learn to delegate and be there for the important things. That's if you're doing motherhood as a career. But if you're not a mother and you're yet in a career, whether you share the household work or not, being successful in a career definitely doesn't happen on your own. Not in the kind of jobs that we do. You can't do like work 15 hours a day, in office and back at home, unless you have somebody telling you that it's okay for you to do that. And for me, most definitely, I would have not gone even halfway through those 32 years if it was not for my family. And I think I was incredibly lucky that all the things I could delegate, everybody happily took over. Things that I couldn't delegate, I was able to do 100%. So no doubt about the fact that the spouse does play a huge role. That I think it's a given. I don't think there's any need to really argue it. If you are in a marriage that is normal and regular and going on, then that's a given. So I just answered the question. It was not about excluding.
Yeah. So I think all women who are married and who are successful.
I think it's a given.
True.
I don't
agree.
think you need to make a separate
Statement
about it.
But the husband who is not supportive.
Yes, can make it very.
Also make it.
That's correct. That is true.
I can answer
That
that
is
question.
true. That is true.
There are women who have succeeded, notwithstanding the objection from the husband.
That's right.
So that's certainly
Yeah, that's right.
But Harsha, I'd like to also say, that the converse is also true. How many of the men who are successful here would have succeeded without the women behind them? Without running their houses, their children, if they had to go home and cook and clean and manage everything, do you think the men would have got them? So it's the same.
Well, it's Nalita, are you trying to say that you can do without a husband, but husbands can't do without a wife? No, I think I take it back. I think it goes without saying that everybody is definitely grateful. But I have this friend of mine, she's about 80 or 81, and her feedback to me when we were talking about marriage, because we all have ups and downs, and the message was, always go to bed with gratitude and think about things that you can be grateful about, because if you start finding fault, there's always fault in everything that you see. So start being grateful for the stuff that happens versus not happens. That's one way to look at it. I'm just giving my perspective. This is a very, very touchy topic. Okay, do we have any other questions from the audience? We have time, man.
5 minutes.
Professor Malavige, this question is for you. How do your children, you said they are grown up, how would they feel and think about your success?
I don't know whether they see it as success or not, because one kid still goes to school, but it's just that we support each other, and everybody, like every family member, has ups and downs. So so in difficult times, or when you're feeling that you can't, which is most of the time that because as I said, a lot of the things I'm asked to do, I've never done, and I figure it on the job. So they really support me, and encourage me. So my kids also play a huge role in encouraging and supporting me. So, yeah.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yes, there are two women entrepreneurs. You said your key driver is your passion. How do you think about money as a driver for entrepreneurs? Because some people say
Yes, I mean,
money drives them. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming from the creative background, I think I'm somebody who always had to watch out how to balance the passion and also funding my passion. So, and also after being in a very comfortable corporate career, to switch to no money and also no money and a passion that you have to fund, it was very tough. So it comes to a point where you have to understand how you kind of balance your passion, where I think you need to know where to draw the line as well, and say it's something that doesn't, it's a continuous thing, right? Like say now the business was doing okay and then COVID struck and again there's no money, right? So how do you again keep your passion alive and also make it a profitable thing? So it's like a never-ending thing, I would suppose. So when the times are changing, you have to change accordingly and also see how you can feed your passion but turn it into a kind of a lucrative business. So it's a very good question, and I think I'm a person who always I mean, actually my husband plays a great role at it because he's an ex-banker, so banker and designer, terrible combination in that sense. I mean, I tell him to mind his own business, don't interfere with my work, and let me do what I'm doing, and don't give me advice about money. And when everything blows up and there's no money, I'm like, what do you think I should be doing? These are my balance sheets. So again, I get him to, so that then he doesn't say I told you so, because he always says a smart man will never dispute with your wife. So, but actually it's one of those situations where when you're an entrepreneur, you're so pumped up to make your dream work. You have to have those, you have to have certain, you know, I mean, I'm always looking at the balance sheet, because as a creative mind, that's the only way that I can kind of understand whether I'm, you know, doing what I'm supposed to do, because I can easily get carried away. So when I'm thinking of growing the business, when I'm looking at how to expand internationally, now we are all looking at how we can expand internationally. So I try to do it in a way where I don't take big risks, because I think with the type of work that I'm doing, I'd rather be more agile with the times and kind of you know, span it out where it's like a long-term mission rather than a short-term mission. That's me.
Yeah, yes, money is needed, and like whenever we get a project, I get a project, I start wondering like what to do and then what not to do. So money is the key thing when we are entrepreneurs, and then when we run businesses, we always look at the profitability, and me being an accountant, so I've been always looking at that. But, you know, like in my point of view, when I do a solution, like when I do a project, like if the solution I have done is accepted and if I have done it properly, that is the main satisfaction I have, more than the margins that I keep. That is what drives me to do another project. So like my view is little different on that, because I sometimes like even go on a break even, because just to get the project, because I'm interested in technology and doing a project and having them as a reference. So I have done it so many times. So it's quite a tricky question, and I think actually if you ask me like if I'm happy, yes, I will say I'm happy. And then if you ask me what is success, I will say happiness. So if, you know, like if you're happy with what you have been doing, like even though you may be a business woman or whatever, but you know, there are things that you can make you happy by being successful in whatever you do. So money is important, but then you know, there are instances where we don't even think of money and then do things. Thank you.
So do we have time for any more questions? Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you very much for your wonderful contributions. This may be a very crazy question. Now our country is in a crisis situation. So to reset Sri Lanka and rescue Sri Lanka as prominent women leaders, do you have any solutions or any creative, innovative ideas for that?
I think one came out. I'm going to leave it to the panel, but one already came up, the conversation about supporting entrepreneurs at the grassroots level, and also supporting entrepreneurs who have potential for going global as well. So I think that would definitely be one way to support the economy. That already came up, so I will leave Nadija.
Shandi, there was a statistic that if we improve the gender equality metrics of participation of women in our economy, within a year we can add 20 billion US dollars to our GDP. Okay, and this is in the context that the government invests more than 60% of its investment in education, from kindergarten all the way up to university, on women. So how do we bring these women to contribute into our economy is something that really weighs heavily on me. And that's why I told you I sit on this stage. It's because all of us have to bring these women here. And that includes me calling on the women of Sri Lanka to bring their best and bring their all to this economy. Because we need the leadership, we need the productivity, and we need the partnership of all these educated women to get where we need to go.
If I can add to that, I think one thing I have realized is, for instance, when I was doing my PhD, it was me and my daughter, because my husband had to come to Sri Lanka frequently. That how I could manage was because there were really, really good childcare facilities for them to leave your child during daytime. And you could be very relaxed because you know that because you want your child to be taken care of very well. Otherwise, you can't be relaxed and focus on work. We don't have such facilities. We have very limited facilities, and the facilities available cannot be afforded by many. So we need childcare support, very high quality childcare support. You can't be relying on your parents or somebody else. So I think people have to take it up. The cooperative sector needs to take it up. Women need to support other women. So if people are, let's say you have somebody who is not working, you can go and pick the other person's kid up from school and keep the kid in your house till the mother comes and picks up. And you can offer, you can pay that person for that. And you should not feel guilty of accepting that type of, that's what happens in other countries. So I think, there should be systems where women can support each other, maybe women working half day, supporting other women by picking up kids, or we make women being housewives, earning some extra cash by picking up kids from school or looking after kids and doing that sort of service, and having really good healthcare, childcare facilities. That if you want women to contribute, you must have good childcare.
Great, that's the answer. There are many other solutions we can talk about, like digital connectivity, 100%, relevant education system, even for women and for girls and for boys. Because right now I think that's a really big issue we have, the whole employability of the next generation when they come in to become competitive from a global perspective, the relevance of our education system. So I think we are done with the Q&A. We're going to just summarize what we've discussed. And to do that, what I would like is ask one question, and any panelist can answer, just one panelist to answer that question. A time that you have, I think this answer kind of came up during the conversation, but a time that you thought you were going to just give up, and somehow you didn't. If anyone can share that moment in a very brief manner.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah. I was like, as I said, I became a single mother when my daughter was 10 years old. And it was like really unexpected because I actually I got married against the wishes of my parents, and I had a tough time, and I really didn't know what to do because to tell you the truth, my family support was very less at that time because they were like very conservative, like they didn't think that I should give up at that point of time, like give up the marriage. So it was very, very difficult, but you know, I had to move on, I had to carry on because I mean my kid, she needed my support, and I remember the moment that I went and asked her, Puta, we are leaving this house, are you coming with me? She said yes, and she never asked. She's 27 next April, but up to now she has never said anything about my decision, and she never asked why I left. So I think it's a difficult call, tough call, and if you take it at that point of time, you know, like you can change lives, and it matters. Like for kids, it really matters.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I'm going to leave you with a quote that I kind of mention at every maybe discussion I'm at, and I really like that quote by Martin Luther King. And the quote is, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to take the first step confidently. And I think all of these women here have definitely climbed the whole staircase, but I'm sure at the beginning, looking at their stories, they just took that first step and kept moving forward. And like Manoj just said, there are situations that you feel like you can't move forward. And the key thing is, I think, getting all the inspiration that we had today, and I'm truly inspired by each one of you, is that whenever you feel like you can't take it anymore, I think the main thing that you need to remember is you can kind of take a break, or you can reflect, and you can maybe stay put for a while, but never throw the towel and never walk away from your career. And that's the message that we got today, because you had so much grit and you just stayed through the course and took all the challenges and moved forward in every area that you have succeeded in. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chandi Dharmaratna and all the other panelists. I request you all to remain on stage for a little while longer. Once again, a heartfelt thank you to our amazing panel of Wonder Women and inspired moderator for a truly inspiring discussion. We have learned so much and been inspired to do more, much more, and differently. Truly, the next generation of women leaders are lucky to have you as role models. And to appreciate these inspirational leaders, let me now invite another inspirational leader. Mr. Nanda Fernando, Managing Director of Sampath Bank, I cordially invite you on stage to hand over the tokens of appreciation to our beloved panelists. Our moderator, Ms. Chandi Dharmaratna. Ms. Manoja Jayawardana. Ms. Charini Suryage. Ms. Farzana Jamil. Ms. Nadija Kambaya. And last but not the least, Professor Neelika Malavige. Thank you, dear ladies, and thank you, Mr. Fernando. As we approach the end of a wonderful and insightful evening with the second iteration of Sampath Bank's Wonder Women Initiative draws to a close, let me now invite an inspirational leader, another trailblazing woman who marked the history at Sampath Bank, Mrs. Ayodhya Iddavala Pereira, Managing Director Designate of Sampath Bank. This invitation is for you to present the vote of thanks.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, and our live stream audience. My sincere thanks to all of you for joining us today and being an intrinsic part of what promises to be an annual feature in the bank's calendar of events. First of all, I would like to congratulate and thank our eminent panel of Wonder Women, Professor Neelika Malavige, Nadija Thambaya, Fazana Jamil, PC, Charini Suryage, Manoja Gunawardena, and our moderator, Chandi Dharmaratna. Thank you to all of you. Ladies, you have inspired me. You have moved me. And I'm sure that I speak for everyone here in the audience. The past few hours have been both an eye-opener and a true inspiration. The trials and tribulations you have described gave most of us a sense of déjà vu. They are what millions of Sri Lankan women and as well as all over the world face every day. Then, inspiring all of us with your personal experience and how the innate strength of a woman succeeds to make her mark in the world. Thank you very much for your sincerity and generosity in sharing your experience. Your words and actions over the years, as they have done today, you would have moved thousands to action to change the outlook, to reimagine new ways of doing things. Trust me, your words spoken today will continue to resonate for decades from today. I earnestly hope that what we highlighted here today will help to determine the future national and corporate policies relating to women. We at Sampath Bank pledge to reiterate the message brought out today to empower the women of tomorrow. Here I wish to mention that we are one of the corporates who pledged with CSC to have 20% minimum in our senior management. And I'm proud to say we are already there, exceeding that 20%. A special word of thanks for Sampath Bank Non-Executive Director, Chairperson of the Board Marketing Subcommittee, Arushi Nanayakara, who has championed the Wonder Women Initiative with the zest of a personal quest. Thank you, Arushi, for your guidance and encouragement. My thanks are also extended to the Board of Directors of Sampath Bank, who have firmly stood by this human initiative and acknowledging the far-reaching impact, not just the near future, but in decades to come. My sincere thanks are extended to the marketing team of Sampath Bank, who, under the guidance of Tharaka Ranwala, Senior Deputy General Manager, Digitalization, Deposit Mobilization, and Marketing, conceptualized this event together with our communication partner, Triad. It is a seed which has now flourished and will continue to grow and become a true agent of change in the future. I would like to extend my thanks to all our partners for this event, the digital team, Kites Global, event setup team, Imagine Entertainment, PR agency, Mother-in-law, and partner hotel, Cinnamon Lakeside. Last but not least, all of you who have joined us in person and online, a big thank you for being a part of this truly noble initiative. Your participation made this event that much more valuable. I appeal to you to take this message with you, share it with your friends and family, most importantly, the next generation of girls and boys, so that they will grow up dispelling any myths and learning that everything is possible for one who truly aspires, and also to give honor and recognition when and where it's due. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Idevala Pereira. Those who break barriers and forge their own paths not only achieve greatness for themselves, but also give hope, opening the path for millions of others to follow them. That is the biggest achievement of all. The stories shared by our trailblazers at the Wonder Women Initiative tonight is the biggest gift to women to dream bigger and reach higher. This initiative by Sampath Bank does not end here, as those who have been inspired by these words continue to carry out different projects and forge different paths to empower women with the hope of a brighter future for all women. Thus, let me conclude Sampath Bank's second fireside discussion, Wonder Woman Initiative. All those who graced us with their presence were all part of an initiative that is certain to bring about constructive change for society at large. Along with profound thanks to our eminent panelists and moderator for imparting true wisdom, we wish all women around the globe a happy Women's Day. Once again, thank you for this wonderful night. Have a great evening, stay safe, and good night.